On Monday, the Heritage Foundation owned Supreme Court knocked down one of the last few remaining barriers to Donald Trump being able to consolidate power in the executive branch. In a not so shocking 6-3 vote, the conservative supermajority managed to undo a 90-plus-year-old precedent in the case Trump v. Slaughter. Well, he's slaughtering something, the Constitution, by allowing Trump to fire any an FTC commissioner without any sort of cause. Monday's decision came with no public explanation for their decision to allow Trump to wield this control over the executive branch and be able to fire anyone, okay, and to replace them with his lackeys. That's been the plan that was in Project 2025. Now, Justice Elena Kagan wrote in her dissent that the court's Republican appointees have elected to, quote, reshape the nation's separation of powers in Trump's favor. And they're doing so without respecting the process that differentiates legal judgments from bare flexes of partisan muscle. So basically, this administration, the Supreme Court specifically, has allowed Trump to take power away from Congress when it comes to the firing of political appointees. So this court case comes after Trump fired Rebecca Slaughter from the Federal Trade Commission back in March. Now, why did he fire her? Because she's a Democrat. That's it. There was no good cause, because the president can fire someone for good cause. For example, if they can't do their job, okay? Good cause, a corruption scandal, perhaps. But simply being a Democrat is not good cause to fire someone from the Federal Trade Commission or from any post, all right? That's it, from any of these agencies. Now, another Democratic commissioner, Alvaro M. Bedoya, was also fired, meaning that there are no Democrats on the Federal Trade Commission anymore. No one. None. Okay? There are 3 Republicans and 2 empty seats. That's it. This is patently illegal, but they don't care. They don't care. Okay? The people who are on that board now, okay, or running the Federal Trade Commission, are nothing but Trump loyalists. They're little lapdogs. Okay? And that's it. The agency is now effectively an arm of Trump, the administration. And they are supposed to enforce antitrust law, but they won't. Okay? Now, what they will do is likely weaponize against any company that may choose to openly oppose the current regime. Okay? Now, they could also go the other way and reward companies that bend the knee to Donald Trump, of which there are many, by the way. There are many. Without any Democrats on the board, there's no longer any check on their power. It is completely and utterly partisan. And they've already used it to punish their enemies. For instance, the agency launched a baseless investigation into Media Matters for America. Why? Well, they had truthfully informed companies that some of their ads had appeared alongside of neo-Nazi propaganda. Now, I remember back on YouTube, there was the adpocalypse, right? Which had happened when there were ads for, like, what was it? Islamic terror groups and things like that, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, that were showing up on some of their ads on YouTube, and they got really, really mad over it, and then took it out on everybody. Okay, we were demonetized. Everyone was demonetized, basically. And so that's what they were doing. But the government wasn't involved in that. Okay, now you have the government going after and investigating Media Matters for just pointing out, like, hey, on X, you got some neo-Nazi white supremacist ads next to ads for toothpaste. I'm pretty sure the company would want to know, based on their reaction to Adpocalypse, that their ads are being featured next to this type of content, and they should be able to have the freedom, the ability to control where their ads go. They don't want to be associated with white nationalism or being a neo-Nazi, and so we're going to give these companies the freedom to be able to put their ads on everything, Hey, and if they want to be associated with that, there would be nothing stopping them there, but we're just letting them know. We're just letting them know that this is where their ads are ending up. Okay? Now, of course, most companies don't like having their ads appear next to that type of content. So they pulled a lot of them from Twitter/X. Okay? So they weren't comfortable with that. Now that, unfortunately for Elon Musk, cost him money. And he wasn't happy about that. He was very angry about that. And he complained. And that's it. And so Donald Trump and the right wing, they were also not happy about that. They actually seem to believe that companies should be forced to advertise on platforms like X or Gab or places like that. Take the most Nazi-filled platform, okay? And they think, oh yeah, no, the advertisers should be forced to advertise on that. I want these companies to have their ads on these platforms right next to, racist neo-Nazi content. Even though the company does not want that at all. And so that's what they're doing. By investigating Media Matters, they're taking revenge on Media Matters for simply doing a real report. For simply pointing things out. That, hey, the company, that should make you rather uncomfortable, right? Do you really want your ads next to this neo-Nazi stuff? And they're like, no, I'm not comfortable. But they're shooting the messenger. That's what they're doing. And so the FTC obviously was not intended to be used in this way to investigate political opponents of the right, to be weaponized, to be politicized like this, which is why it was originally barred, okay, from having the president fire commissioners without any good reason. That's it. I mean, being a Democrat is not a good reason to fire someone, but unfortunately, we have an illegitimate activist Supreme Court that does not agree. That's it. They're pretty determined to allow Donald Trump to fire competent people and to replace them with political hacks. And so they're looking at the possibility of overturning this 1935 court decision called Humphrey's Executor. Back then, in 1935, the court unanimously ruled that these appointees have protection against presidential removal for partisan reasons. You have to have a reason to remove these people. Okay? And those protections did not run afoul of the Constitution, of the president's powers in the executive branch. He can remove people with good reason. Good reason. This is not a good reason. Slaughter was fired for being a Democrat. Simple as that. Now, Kagan, in her dissenting opinion, was joined by the other two liberals in the court and talked about the shadow docket. That docket, she wrote, should never be used, as it has been this year, to permit what our own president bars. Still more, it should not be used, as it also has been, to transfer government authority from Congress to the president, and thus to reshape the nation's separation of powers, which is exactly what they're doing. They're shredding the Constitution, and they're trying to make Donald Trump into a king. That's it. I mean, unitary executive theory is just that. It destroys the separation of powers and effectively makes Congress and the courts, which are already subservient to Donald Trump, just that. Congress would join them too. We're supposed to have three co-equal branches of the government. And I say that, okay, because that's what it's supposed to be. But remember, a lot of the people that I'm talking about here don't even understand what the three branches are, okay? They don't understand that the Congress and the courts are not supposed to work for the president. They're supposed to be a check on presidential power. That's it. They're supposed to be a check, a co-equal branch. What does co-equal mean? It means they can override the president if they need to. It's not an easy thing to do. And the president himself also has powers to override Congress with a veto. But that veto can also be over. Again, it's all supposed to be equal branches having checks over each other so that no one branch is more powerful than the other. And this Supreme Court is just completely doing away with all of that. Trying to make Trump into a king. And I remember back in the day when they used to complain the right about, Obama, with all of his executive orders, King Obama.
Obama.
And yet there they are trying to make King Trump. That's the reality here. That's the reality. Okay. Look, there is one exception though, to be fair. The Federal Reserve, so far, Trump and this Supreme Court has not taken the side of Donald Trump yet. Now, there's a reason for that. If Donald Trump gained control of the Federal Reserve, which is supposed to be quasi-independent, right? That would mean the end of the dollar. It would be. I mean, look, there's a reason that we are the reserve currency in the world, okay? At least the stated reason. And that is the more or less independence of the Federal Reserve, okay? That they act independently to the president, to the whims of the president of the United States, and that they're supposed to look at, okay, what is the best for the economy, all right? And mainly what's best for big business, but that's just my opinion on that. But here's the thing. Trump is trying to eliminate that quasi-independence and make it fully subservient to him. And that's not a good thing, okay? Because if they lose that independence, you know what's going to happen? Other countries are just going to stop using the dollar as the reserve currency of the world. And you know what? If that happens, our economy's gone. That's it. Right? We're gone. It's gone.
Bing, 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 boom. It's gone.
That's it. And so I hope they realize that if they let Trump have his way on this one, that it would completely destroy the nation's economy, perhaps even the world economy, and the country if they, allow him to get away with all this. That said, I do not have a lot of hope. They're already letting him do everything else to destroy the country. Because of them, Trump has been able to dismantle a lot of the guardrails that have kept us from becoming an authoritarian dictatorship. So, look, if Democrats ever get control of the White House again, that's a big if, because the Democratic Party has some problems too. But if they do, they need to get serious about packing the court. I mean, Biden should have done it. He should have done it. He didn't. But, they should. And pack the court with people who, not with political hacks, like what, Trump has done, but with people who actually believe in democracy. I don't care if they're Republicans. Obviously, I prefer progressives. But there are, to be fair, still Republicans out there, or people who used to be Republicans are now independents that, yes, are conservative in their personal beliefs, but are not okay with authoritarianism. Okay? This court is okay with authoritarianism. What I want for the court is people there who care about protecting rule of law, who will follow established precedent, and most importantly, will follow the Constitution and will treat it as the living document that it is. I don't think that's too much to ask for them to just literally do their jobs and interpret the law and not be a panel of activist judges from the Heritage Foundation. But that's exactly what they are right now. And that's exactly why, if we ever do get a chance, we need to have someone, a president, that is willing to pack the court and return it to where it should have been, to what its original purpose was, to be a separate co-equal branch of the government that interprets the Constitution, interprets the laws based on the Constitution. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.